Oh, and we're live. Hey. Yeah. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Crossing the Streams. We're back. This is episode 41. We were off last week for the Jewish holiday, so Happy New Year to all our Jewish followers. Ron, Happy New Year to you.
Hope you repented.
We're all repented. We're all good, and we're ready. We're ready to kick off this new year with you guys. We got two guests for you today, two amazing guests, Fred Carroll and Mick Manhattan. We're going to go right into the theme song because that's what we do. Fred, take it away.
Here's the story of some lonely fellows who spend way too much time watching the TV. All of them have jobs and friends. Well, not really. Between you and me. Go, Mick.
They made a live show out of their hobby. Every TV watcher's TV watching dream. Jeff, Ron, Sal, and Bob, and there's Howard. They call it Crossing Streams.
Bob.
And then one day they went live on all the platforms. You could hear the people laugh and shout and scream. Still can't find another word that rhymes with platform. But man, they cross the streams.
Everyone.
They cross the streams. We cross the streams. That's the way we do it. We cross the streams.
Da, da, da.
All right.
Hey.
The one thing we are not good at is all singing at the same time. We got to work that out. We're going to have to make an official theme song. Welcome, everybody, to Crossing the Streams. This is where every Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time via YouTube, via Facebook, we go live and we talk about TV shows and movies that you should be streaming. That's right. Everybody's always like, hey, what should I be watching? This is the show for you. I still have friends and family. They're like, what should I watch? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe check out the 40 hours of programming that we have on our YouTube channel. This is episode 41. We cover 4 or so shows every week. We haven't repeated yet. So we're very excited. We got some great shows for you today, and we got some amazing guests for you today. And the scroll below is where you can follow us on YouTube and all that kind of good stuff. So we got some great shows for you. We're all interactive. So if you're on YouTube and all that, join Lee and definitely
Lee.
Chime in and comment along. We love to hear from you and love your opinions as we're going. And we do have 2 guests. So here's the big deal. We've been lauding a lot of people. Mick, this is your 3rd time on the show, which is
I love the show.
You're the 3-timer club. Mick Manhattan, ladies and gentlemen, a force du jour.
At 5 times, do you do like SNL and I got a jacket?
Yes. Yeah. Tell everyone about your shows, Mick.
All right. Well, I Mick Manhattan. I'm the host of the Scene Snobs podcast. You can check us. We're live every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Check us out. We try to be as funny as possible, but we talk about a slew of different things in pop culture, geek, entertainment industry, things like that. So, but we're a little more oddball. We go to the absurd with it. Like, who's the TV dad that's most likely to snap and kill his kids? Things like that. The riveting things.
Mick, what I enjoy about your podcast is you guys are all over the freaking place. I mean, honestly, there's no rhythm or you could be anywhere on any given night, and I appreciate that about you. Good job.
Thank you. And Ron is a loyal listener. I appreciate him so much because he adds so much value to the show.
All right. Well, we appreciate all your support of our show week after week, Mick. And then we also have Fred Carroll. Now, week after week, we talk about people who have been here, and 3 has been the record. But this is Fred's 4th appearance on the show. So this is a record-setting show. If he keeps putting up the word penis, it may be his last show.
It might.
But
that's a proper word.
But Fred, tell everyone about your new podcast that you're kicking off and talk about Ending the Stigma as well.
So Ending the Stigma, first of all, is the one that's still live, and that's my mental health and addiction recovery show that is on. We're going to move it to every Tuesday starting in 2 weeks. It's going to be consistent. We're going to go to a consistent format of Tuesdays at 7 p.m. on YouTube, so anybody can go to Ending the Stigma on YouTube and find it, or through Facebook. And my other show is Of course, most people know me from within the Head of Fred, but I have reformatted, switched things up, and now it is the Head of Fred show, and that starts on October 4th. That's going to be the first show, and it's going to be more the same, but a little more formatted than it, I'll know what I'm doing going in. It's not going to be raw dogging it like Mick Manhattan show.
We have a raw dog reference.
Yes.
Ding, 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 ding.
All right. Well, awesome. So check all of them out. Bob and myself run a podcast as well. I have Live from Detroit, the Jeff Dwoskin Show. Bob with Sal, who's usually here. I have the Sal and Bob Show, rated 2 of the greatest podcasts in the history of podcasts. So we're pretty.
And may I say, the Jeff Dwoskin Show. He has the best guests of any podcast out there. Literally from A-listers to D-listers making comebacks or just doing the Comic-Con runs, whatever it is. Very interesting, folks. I don't know how he gets them, but every week you're going to see somebody interesting.
Thank you, Bob. That was so nice.
You're quite welcome.
That was so nice. And if I listened to your podcast, I'd probably have inserted a very hefty plug now. No, I'm just kidding. Sal and Bob are great. They go to steakhouses. They've yet to invite me to a steakhouse for a free steak to be on their show live. But I know, so check all those out. So much for you guys to do. But right now we are talking TV. Last week, episode 40, our 40th episode. Can you believe it? We talked about Only Murders in the Building. We talked about The Americans, Toast of London, and Turning Point. It was just about 9/11 last time we met. And so that was a big deal thing that came out that Ron talked about. And then today we're going to talk about Bleed for This. What? A boxing show that Bob Phillips is going to talk about? What? Fred's going to talk about The Morning Show, which is now returning for season 2. And we're going to talk about Fleabag. Mick's going to talk about Fleabag. And Ron has got Worth from Netflix, which I realized when I was looking up the Worth, I saw Michael Keaton. I'm like, oh, wait, this has got to be wrong because Michael Keaton's in that new opiate movie. And I'm like, what is he? Is this the same? Is this a sequel?
Yes, he's cornering that market actually, because he also, if you remember, did the work on Spotlight. So all of the issues that America faces right now, you can count on Michael Keaton being the
Mark Ruffalo. And Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo as well.
He's the conscience of America. You're right, Ron.
The interesting thing about oh my God, what's his name? Batman. What we were just saying, Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton is. I was just watching the Comedy Store documentary. I'm late to the game on that. Rosner reviewed that on the show many episodes ago. But I talked to so many comedians, and they kept asking me if I'd seen it, but I didn't have Showtime. But now I have access to it, so I watched it. And Michael Keaton's in that because he got his start as a comedian at the Comedy Store. I think he was probably a comedian for maybe it would seem like 5 minutes before he became super famous and never looked back onto his comedy career. I do want to mention also Only Murders in the Building, which is an ongoing show, which I talked about last week. I was watching the most recent episode yesterday. That's Steve Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. It's about them doing a murder
podcast.
A podcast, but what do they call it? Murder, crime,
mystery,
murder, crime, whatever.
True crime.
Thank you. True crime podcast. So I turned to my wife. I go, here's the problem with this show. They do 2 episodes. The Tina Fey character, which would be not Joe Rogan, but in that world, she's as popular as Joe Rogan would be. Not controversial, but she's runs one of the biggest podcasts ever. She's on Jimmy Fallon, and they had gone to meet with her. So she turns to Jimmy Fallon's and says, oh, this guy is doing this podcast. So the podcast kind of blows up after 2 episodes, and they have a sponsor for $50,000. Yeah. I turned to my wife. I go, this is the problem with this show. Everyone's going to do a podcast, get into 2 episodes, realize this is ridiculous, and there's going to be 100,000 more littered podcasts in the world. Because of the false expectations being set up by this otherwise amazing show. So there's that. I do want to kind of mention there was actually more but these two in particular, Michael K. Williams and Norm Mcdonald, passed away recently. Two huge actors. Norm Mcdonald, personally, that was a big one for me. Quite a shock. He was one of my favorite comedians.
Mine too.
I actually think, honestly, this is just for me, and I only speak for myself, but Norm Mcdonald, losing him hit me just as hard as Robin Williams and some of the other more recent big names out there. It really is a huge loss for everyone. I just still can't believe it.
It's interesting you say that. I felt exactly the same way. And by pure coincidence, in the episode of my podcast that's out right now with Rick Overton, he was good friends with Robin Williams. And while we were talking about it, I said, oh, by the way, when Robin Williams died, I literally had to pull over. Like I was tempted at the end of that as I was recording it, because Norm had just died. And I felt exactly that. I was going to I didn't go there because I didn't want to take away from the other story or how, I didn't. But yeah,
like
I felt
a punch.
Yeah, exactly the same way.
Have you seen the videos online where he's making fun of on his show, The Man Great?
No, I haven't.
They kind of went viral because on a show, one of his sponsors was it's cast iron grilling grates called Man Grates, and he would just tear them apart on a show. They canceled it.
His sponsor,
he would rip it apart and he would make fun of it. The guest. Well, it's funny because Man Grates was our first sponsor when we were on the show called Mystery Elephant years ago, around the same time he was doing it. And for Norm Mcdonald, I'm just going to say those cheapskates never paid us, so screw them.
Oh man,
I was just going to say, I probably like all you guys, I've been catching up on Norm Mcdonald clips for the last several days now.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm just curious about what do you guys put up there as just the funniest moments of Norm Mcdonald?
I have one to me, it's the funniest. It's the funniest set I've seen him do on TV. It was because it was a tight set on Letterman's last week. And then at the end of it, he got genuinely choked up.
Yeah.
Within the last minute, he couldn't speak, and then he had to stop. And everybody knew how much affection he had for Letterman. At the very end, he said, "And I just want to say I love you." And he said, "I don't want to." He said, "I don't want to go into the maudlin, but it's not maudlin if it's true, and I love you." That was just that got me.
They not one of the best, but it was one that just had me cracking up. Was when he was on Comedians in Cars getting coffee.
Yeah,
and he was talking about Bill Cosby and his legacy.
Yeah.
And he was like,
about being a raper.
Patton Oswalt said, the worst thing about it is, I forget what he said. What the worst thing about it was, he's like, really? Because I would have thought the worst thing was the raping. And it's just like Jerry Seinfeld loses it. Like he can't.
He was on Conan last week too. The last week of Conan, and he delivered them flowers, but the flowers were actually they were supposed to be delivered when he lost his job to Jay Leno. They were predated. He crossed it out and dated it for that. So
for me, all of the Conan bits are good, but for me, the moth joke.
Yeah, I was going to say the moth joke.
The light was on.
My favorite is I put on someone did a super clip of or it already existed of all his O.J. Simpson jokes, which ultimately had gotten him fired from Saturday Night Live. And there was one in particular where he's like, O.J. Simpson just put out his new book, and in the book he talks about how he would have taken a bullet for Nicole. What bad luck that the one person that would have died for Nicole Simpson killed her.
Killed her.
Did you guys?
I'm sure I butchered it, but but it was just so
good.
funny.
That's pretty good. Did you see the Courtney Thorne Smith interview with Conan?
What is that? Bord? B-O-R?
Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
How about the Rod Woodson did you see the ESPYs? Where he says, Rod Woodson, you got the Heisman. No one can ever take that away from you unless you kill your wife and her lover.
They never had a comedian back for years before they would trust a comedian to come back. Actually, Fred sent that to me, And I was like, my reaction was, what did they think was going to happen? Norm Mcdonald. That was one of the most brilliant.
It was.
Did you see the one where he's on The View? And this is back in the 90s with Clinton. And he's just like, yeah, well, I don't want to vote for a guy who killed a man. And they're like, don't talk about that. Don't talk about, we're not talking about that. You're wrong.
And he's like, oh, but I thought it was just common fact. And they keep Barbara Walters, they keep threatening him not to say it.
I thought everybody knew. Well, what's the problem?
Yeah.
That's good, Bob. That actually sounded like him.
Yeah.
The best I could do on short notice.
So, and anyway, cool. So rest in peace to those. Have you guys been watching What If? Have you guys been keeping up on that?
Oh, so good.
Okay, well, I think it's.
I'm going to do the Michaela Maroney thing here.
I like how they're building up to. I have a feeling they're going to be building up to a new Avengers team.
Yeah, but these are supposed to be what ifs. What you know? I mean, these are like these alternate things. So, like, let's take today's episode with Thor. Right? I thought it was like utter garbage. So the premise of the show is, what if Thor didn't grow up with Loki? You know, and didn't have that influence in his life. So Loki actually isn't given back. He gets raised as an ice giant.
Oh, okay.
Right. So then Thor comes to Earth and basically throws a rager. And it's they just have every single person that they could possibly draw in it. And then Captain Marvel gets beeped because all of a sudden now in every episode, all they do is beep Captain Marvel, even though they didn't use it for 20 movies. And then Loki shows up to the party and he's like, hey, what's up, my brother from another mother? And I'm like, wait a minute. If the whole point of this episode was Thor, what happens to Thor without the influence of Loki? They're clearly great friends. I mean, like, it just didn't even make sense. Well, we can't.
Is it all animated? I don't know.
It's all animated. And like, there was literally no purpose to the episode except the last 3 minutes when Vision Ultron shows up. Like an alternate Vision Ultron character, a few people show up.
Okay.
Other than that, I thought it was utter garbage. There was absolutely nothing about that episode that even made sense for half a second, in my opinion.
Where is this show? I've never even heard
Disney Plus. It's on Disney Plus. I also have a very big problem with the first episode. Captain Carter, brilliant. Love Captain Carter. They shoot Steve Rogers so he can't become Captain America. And then Peggy Carter becomes Captain Carter, and she kicks ass. She's awesome. It's one of the best characters they've created. But then they're like, wait a minute. People must probably get upset if we don't have Steve Rogers in it. So even though he was just shot 5 minutes ago, we're going to Howard Stark, without any context, is going to build the same Iron Man suit that Tony Stark builds 40 years later out of tools that just happened to be in a cave. But he's going to build the same thing 50 years earlier with no context. And then who are they going to give it to? Let's give it to the guy that just got shot.
I'm drifting.
That would make sense. That would make sense.
They do have problems.
So to me, like, some of these don't, like the T'Challa one, where like they go and they pick up the wrong kid. It's like, that's not a what if. It's just they did something different. All right.
Well, they did the one with Killmonger saves Tony Stark, and I'm thinking about him like, all right, he's like 30 in 2017. And the first movie, Iron Man movie, takes place in 2008. So what is that? Why is he the same guy, the same age, coming over and saving him?
Because it's what if, Mick. Come on.
I'm the one. He just picked it apart. No, I'm the one.
What if?
All right.
No, I'm with you.
Speaking of what if we moved the show on and talked about Bleed for this, the 1400th boxing show that Bob Phillips is going to cover. We're pretty excited about this.
All right, come on.
Crossing the Streams has been named the #1 boxing review site in the world.
It really is. And thank you for giving me the forum for that. So Bleed for this, great movie. And good boxing movies are very hard to find. This was, I think it was done in 2016. It stars Miles Teller, who I was not ready to believe as a fighter, especially a fighter like Vinny Pazienza, but he pulled it off. He did it beautifully. I think Rotten Tomatoes rated it like 75, which was pretty good for a boxing movie. And it's on Netflix, by the way. The whole story is about, and I'll tell you the reason for the title at the end of this, because it is important. The whole story is about Vinny Pazienza's career after he loses a fight with Roger Mayweather. Everybody knows Floyd Mayweather, right? Money Mayweather, 49-0, now 50-0. But his uncle, Roger Mayweather, they called himself the Black Mamba. He was a fighter in the 80s and 90s, very good. And he outclassed Vinny in a I think it was a welterweight, junior welterweight bout. That's about like 140 pounds. And manhandled him and exposed him as a very limited fighter, but he was a very popular fighter. He was the Ray Mancini of his time. He was the Boom Boom Mancini of the 90s, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Late 80s or 90s. So he was a very charismatic guy. He was from Rhode Island. The press loved him. He was a very funny kid, but he didn't have the talent to beat the big champions of his day. So he would get those shots and he would narrowly miss, or he'd get beaten. But he loses this fight, okay? And so he gets a new trainer, and he gets Mike Tyson's old trainer, a guy named Kevin Rooney. And I don't want to tell you all the ins and outs, because I don't want to give away too much, but it's also boring to get too deep into the esoterica. The point is that he was changing his whole fighting style around, and instead of fighting at 140 pounds, Kevin Rooney said, "No, you're an older guy now. You're late 20s. You can't fight at 140. You need to go up. You need to go up 2 weight classes, which is unheard of in boxing." Well, he was getting him ready for a fight, and he actually wound up winning the fight. He wound up, was like the IBC junior welterweight champion, something like that. Shortly thereafter, gets into a car accident and breaks his neck in 3 places.
Wow.
And they tell him, and this is all true, and it's very well dramatized in the movie. They tell him, "Look, you're not just not going to box again. We're going to struggle to help you walk." And they say, "We're going to have to fuse your spine," as you often hear with people with spinal injuries. They fuse their spine. It gives them the ability to walk, but they, become very stiff in the rest of their life. They just can't. They don't have the mobility. So Pazienza, true to his character, says, "No, I'm not doing it. I want you to put me in a halo." And the doctor says, "No, I need you. I want you to walk again." He says, "I want to fight again." So, I mean, literally against all odds, true story. He's in a halo for 6 months. You've seen these halo things, right? People with neck injuries. So broken neck, halo for 6 months. They literally screw 4 bolts into his head. Big ones, like 3-inch, probably half-inch diameter into his head, so that this thing remains immobile. Well, this would not be an inspiring movie, certainly not an inspiring boxing movie, if it just wound up him learning how to live with a halo on his head. He decides just a couple months into this that, no, I'm going to fight again. And he doesn't tell anybody. He literally goes down into his basement and starts lifting weights. He can only lift, the bar, the 20-pound bar at first. And then gradually works his way up. That's all Ryan
can do, and he's never hurt his neck.
That's about all I can do too.
I'm not going to argue with that.
There's a lot of stuff going on here. Katie Seagal plays his mother. The guy who I'm trying to remember who played the he was the King of the Wildlings in Game of Thrones. He plays Vinny's father. Anyway, really good cast. And Miles Teller pulls it off. The whole point to the movie really is to just be sort of, I mean, every boxing movie tries to follow the Rocky formula, right? Like, there's no way he can win this. Oh my God, he wins it. Well, if you know boxing, you know that Vinny Pazienza was a hell of a competitor, but he was not a Sugar Ray Leonard. He was not a Tommy Hearns. He was a man of the moment and a skilled fighter. He was a top 10 fighter, but he was not going to hold the championship for long. So Obviously, there is no movie if he doesn't recover from his injuries, so I'm not giving anything away here. But the next person he fights after recovering from this horrible injury is Roberto Duran.
Oh no!
Yeah. Now he's an aging Roberto Duran. He's young 40s, but he's still Roberto Duran. And I'm not going to give you the what happens in that fight. You'll have to watch it. It's very exciting, very cool. Miles Teller, I got to give him a lot of credit, man. He plays Pazienza low key. I think he gets it. He gets the spirit of the guy. And the title, I said I'd save this for the end. The title, Bleed for This, comes, and you don't see this in the movie, but it's from a book where his father, Vinny, had a big gambling problem. He wasn't a drinker for most of his life, but he loved the strip clubs and he loved gambling. And he made millions in the ring and lost millions in casinos. And his father saw him, in the casino it was after a fight, betting $10,000 a hand, losing $100,000 a night. And he said to him, "Stop. You've got to stop this. Don't you understand? You bled for this." So it finally worked its way into Vinny's head. And he didn't have the millions that he collected as a fighter, but he's kind of a sought after commentator on certain fights. He's a fun guest. He'd be a great guest for your show, Jeff, and mine if I could get a hold of him. But anyway, Bleed for This. It's on Netflix. Very interesting character study and a rousing boxing movie.
Awesome.
Nice.
Good review, Bob.
All right, thank you. I tried to keep it under 10 and I did it.
You did. Let's talk about the morning show. It's a very popular show.
All right.
Yeah, it is. And has everybody seen it? That's here.
I have not.
I have not
seen
either.
it. There's only one episode.
Only one episode of season 2. So that's why we chose to talk about this today. I'm a fan of it. But the one thing I said when people ask me what the morning show is, obviously it's self-described, but it's I don't know. It's the House of Cards meets Good Morning America without the pedophilia casting of Kevin Spacey. It's all those things, and they really took to me it's the Matt Lauer issues with NBC. They claim it's not, but it's got a lot of. So Steve Carell, who is one of the lead characters in the first season, is Me Too'd basically for banging a bunch of interns and all this stuff on set. And, it has a lot of drama to it. And I think the acting and the writing is well done. And I love some of the actors that are in it, some of the male cast members that are, B players in the film, in the show, because obviously it's the toothy girl, Reese Witherspoon. And
the chin.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. She's toothy.
I hear you.
She's toothy. And Jennifer Aniston, who looks amazing, who clearly bathed in the same youth bath as Brad Pitt and all those guys, because she doesn't look 50 or whatever she is. So overall, I think Steve Carell is Matt Lauer in this. And he's been Me Too'd, and that you can't go too far into it if people haven't seen it, but it's a drama. It has everything in it. It has marriage, divorce, suicide. Hold on, I wrote this down.
Can I just interject? I love how you're describing that Matt Lauer, like almost like they were victims of Me Too.
He got Me Too'd.
Me Too'd.
Yeah,
they were horrible human beings.
He Me Too'd himself.
He got exposed in the show via the Me Too movement.
Right. Yeah.
He deserved everything he gets.
Yeah. If he's, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about Matt Lauer. I don't watch morning shows, so
they actually talked about Matt Lauer having this button that closed the door, and they actually went out of their way to show that exact scene. So for them to say this wasn't inspired by her, it's exactly. Well, I say exactly, I put it in quotes, but like whatever the public would think of the Matt Lauer thing that came out, this is as close to a fictionalized version.
Now, I know, Jeff, you had mentioned you get lost in the flashbacks of this show, which I don't.
The first season starts at the end of the other season, then something happens, and then they go back 3 months.
Yeah.
So it wasn't clear, like, the time difference between the beginning and then that next scene. And then they do, unless I blinked and I missed it.
Yeah, and if that's the problem, you take a bathroom break without pausing, you could miss a whole arc line of this show. And it does move a little fast at times, but I'm a huge Billy Crudup fan. Billy Crudup plays
yes.
You know, he's my favorite. He's one of my favorite actors because I'm an Almost Famous. He was the guitar player in Almost Famous.
One of my very favorite movies. I never liked
him after he beat up Greg Kinnear in As Good as It Gets.
Well, you're taking it too personal.
He's so good in this. It's a huge cast. It's a great cast.
Yeah, and him and
Dr. Manhattan, Mick,
the guy that does the production. You know,
the best one,
all of them are, and you know, like I was saying, it has murder, suicide, issues. It's like my first marriage, is what I'm trying to say.
Did you really get Me Too'd?
No, I didn't get Me Too'd, but.
Jerry got.
They're gonna get Me Too'd.
Yeah, listen. If I could never run for any political office at this point, I put way too much video out there for people. But overall, I enjoy the show. I didn't enjoy the first episode of season 2, but I think they're trying to slow roll this in and stuff. It was a little too, you know, because their theory is the Reese Witherspoon character is very Southern. Lived in a poorer area, and she's hard hitting for the news. She wants real news and stuff. And the Jennifer Aniston is high society, New York City, and all this stuff. And they're melding them together, but they do act well on screen. They're both great actresses. The writing is, I think it's good. It's not fantastic, or it kind of writes itself. Basically, they're stealing it from the headlines. But they do stick to the headlines. They stuck to the California fires. Now they're on to the coronavirus in the new season and stuff like that. So, and they don't mention Trump per name, but they talk about presidential issues and stuff like that. So overall, I give it a good review, and I think it's worth watching. And it's on Apple TV, and it does what Jeff loves, is they release a show every week, like a normal regular TV show. And you guys love that.
So I didn't love the first episode, but I did read a review from someone who saw the whole thing and said, while they wouldn't call the show good, they did call it an amazing roller coaster that they thoroughly enjoyed.
Well, and that's House of Cards. House of Cards is like that, in my opinion.
I think the episode starts right when the other season ends, and then it jumps forward like 8 months. They seem to have changed the Reese Witherspoon character a little bit. She's not as hard hitting, not as aggressive. Yeah, it's very. I mean, I'm not obviously in that world, but like, you can't trust anyone. Everyone's no one can be trusted. But the one thing that I don't love is what you just mentioned. It's 2019 and it's about to be New Year's Eve, right? It's about to become 2020 on the show. And even they make the obligatory 2019 joke, well, this year sucked, huh? and then it turns to 220. So it's clear, like Fred said, they're going to cover COVID. But in my head, I mean, unless I'm not ready for that, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I think the whole world is trying. I'm curious how they do it. I'm going to watch, but honestly, like, I'm trying to get over it. I'm fine to reflect on it at some point, but not right. I don't know.
We're not done yet, man. I don't know that we're ready to joke about something we're not done with yet. So it's like,
I don't know that they're going to joke about it. It's probably going to be about the politics of it, but like, I'm just not. I don't know that I'm ready for that. It's hard enough that we're all just going through it, and you can't tell what's real and what's not real anymore. To throw a fictionalized version of it into the mix just seems.
Well, so I can tell you. So I hadn't seen the show, Fred, and based on your review, I actually am going to take another look at it. I do love Apple TV Plus, and I will say, they're still looking for that second show that not named Ted Lasso to really anchor their service. And I know M. Night Shyamalan had the servant thing, and I know that this show is supposed to be that next Ted Lasso, and nothing has come up yet. They haven't found that killer show yet.
Yeah. And did anybody see they're paying him $1 million an episode now?
No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
Ted Lasso.
Jason Sudeikis.
$1 million an episode.
He
does deserve it.
I think this is the closest thing to Ted Lasso that they have.
This was supposed to be their huge show.
I did a review.
I think it was Mick until Ted Lasso came.
Until Ted Lasso came out.
Just blew everything
I did a review on Mr. Corman, which I thought it is an excellent show, albeit very dark. But again, it still doesn't have the appeal that Ted Lasso has. So I think they're still looking.
Yeah. Well, when can I watch Ted Lasso and not on Apple Plus Max minus
out of Apple's
negative
cool
number
dead hands? That's how you watch it.
You could wait for the DVDs.
Jesus, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of ordering streaming service. I'm sick of it. I mean, of course, this is a show about streaming, but I just. Is it ever going to be on YouTube where I can just watch
Go to Best Buy, throw your $100, get the box, and you're done, and that's it.
You don't even
have it, and it doesn't work.
What do you stream on?
You know my connectivity issues, Ron.
Well, what's going on up there that you can't get good? Are you using
services?
Don't
ask me, Fred. It's just
look, we were
congratulating Mick and you for being 3 and 4 timers. This is only my 5th full episode. Okay,
and the jury's still out. It's only 10 o'clock.
Anything could happen. Ow!
Oh man, hey, let's go to Mick's. Mick's talking about Fleabag.
Ooh.
Yeah,
makes sense.
I think it was 2019 where this show started winning all the awards, everything. It was almost like the size of Ted Lasso that year.
Yeah, she won everything. It was like
I remember that.
It's an amazing cast in the show. So Phoebe Waller-Bridge, this was a one-woman show that she built up for. She wrote for a stand-up comedy storytelling night, and it just won tons of awards and started being put out there more and more. And then they adapted it, and she adapted it into a show for Amazon. And it's only 2 seasons. They canceled it, which I guess maybe it took too long, or I don't know with COVID and everything, but she said she loves playing the character, but she's happy how it ended. And it does end perfectly. So you can have her come back, but if you
how many seasons
touch it again, it's 2 really good seasons of a show.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, it literally was canceled. It wasn't that she just ended it.
No, she said she'd come back to do a 3rd season, but they canceled it.
So they had this huge show and then just said, okay, we're done. We're going to focus on the boys.
I think it was a huge show, almost like 30 Rock was. It was always winning awards, but it didn't have people watching it as much. And word of mouth is
my wife hates this show.
I do too.
I never watched 30 Rock.
I don't like it.
She can't. I like the show, but she does not like
British humor.
Unredeemable. Well, no, it's not that. It's just she doesn't like unredeemable central characters. And the Fleabag character, Phoebe Waller, in this she's a horrible person.
Yeah.
And so she just can't watch shows like that. She can't, you can't.
Yeah.
I agree.
Reach for it.
And they all are. Olivia Colman plays a horrible character in this, manipulative.
She's amazing. She's for everyone listening, for reference, just won the Emmy for playing Queen Elizabeth in the Crown.
Mm.
Oh, she's great in everything.
Yeah.
Brett Gelman, you guys, I'm sure you guys know, comedian from here in America, and he plays the husband of her sister on the show. And he is such a piece of garbage, and he's perfect at it. Everybody on this show is just truly fantastic. Andrew Scott, who's from Sherlock, plays a priest that falls in love with her, but they can't do anything because he's a priest. He's trying to stick to his vows. The whole show just has it never loses steam. I just think it's good all the way through. It's just a really good story from beginning to end, and I just urge more people to watch it.
I haven't seen season 2. season 1, doesn't even end with her being redeemed. I mean, it actually is the end of the season 1 episode. It kind of solidifies the fact of what a horrible person she is, right? And so, but I do agree. I mean, I enjoyed season 1 a lot. Every character is hard to swallow, but amazing. I mean, it's definitely extremely well written and well acted. I agree with you 100% on that, Mick. I still have to get into season 2. She's the rumored to be the new Indiana Jones.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. She's in that.
Yeah, she's in it. And
right?
The rumor is she's going to take over.
So wait a second. This is on Amazon, right, Mick?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why have I never heard of this?
How have you never heard of Fleabag?
I've never heard of Fleabag. Yeah. Somehow this has escaped me. Am I the only one?
I think so. Like it
literally won every award like 2 years ago.
Wow. Well, there you have it.
They literally would get there and go Fleabag, and then they're like, "Do we need to read the other ones?" I mean, like, it was that embarrassing. It was that.
I will say season 2. It's a beautiful, weird love story between them in that, and when it ends, she is redeemed in the eyes of the viewer. But she is still a Fleabag. She's still, but it's justifiable by that point. And the whole point is like she lost her best friend and lover, who she was truly in love with, and she died, and that was her business partner. So it was like her just dealing with that loss with all of these other horrible people in her life, and she just wants to connect with her sister, but her sister wants nothing to do with her, and it's crazy.
Jerry didn't hear of it, and now look at Lee. Lee hasn't heard of it either, so I'm not the only one.
And Leah's up on it. She watches us regularly.
Well, in Jerry's defense, he didn't say he hadn't heard of it. He just said he hadn't seen it.
Okay.
Ron, get on it.
That is different.
Yeah. Shout out to Lee, the biggest fan of all of our shows. Thank you, Lee.
Yeah, gotta love Lee. Thank you for watching.
That's awesome.
Cool. So yeah, I definitely check. Yeah, I would definitely check out Fleabag, Ron. You would...
Yeah, I think I will. It sounds right up my alley, actually. So thanks for doing that, Mick.
Yeah, and it's only half-hour shows. It's like 2 seasons of 10 half-hour shows.
You'll be asleep. You'll be asleep by episode 3.
Nice.
No.
I appreciate that.
No, it's good. It's good. It's just the Fleabag character is like cilantro. Some people love it, and some people
I see what you did there.
That
was profound.
Thank you.
You're very.
Oh yeah, see, Fred can't watch a show about women starring in it unless they get Me Too'd.
That's right. I don't like British comedy. I've never been a British comedy guy.
See, Jerry had heard of it. Heard of it. So he's
loser.
Oh, so now he's suing you for defamation of character. Which, by the way, did you hear about the woman, the chess champion woman that is suing Netflix because in Netflix when
the Queen's Gambit,
the Queen Gambit character is about to win, they say, well, this other, excuse me for not knowing her name, she's never played men. She's playing men, and that wasn't true, and she's suing.
It's ridiculous. It's a fictional show. Yeah. It's not they didn't advertise it as a nonfiction truth-telling show. It's a fictional show. Whatever you say.
Here's the opening and the ending of that court case. Dramatic license adjourned.
Right.
Good night, everybody.
That's like Charles Manson getting mad at Quentin Tarantino for his that Hollywood movie he made.
Maybe this person was lives in Texas and was deputized. We don't know. We don't know what happened.
We don't know what happened. We don't know what happened. All right. Speaking of not knowing what happened, I'm curious. I'm curious what Worth is all about.
Yeah. So this is purely a Netflix algorithm. Thank you, Netflix, for knowing what I like. They know the gods of Netflix know I absolutely adore Michael Keaton. For all the reasons we just talked about. And by the way, just on a side note, Michael Keaton movies, Mr. Mom, Batman, Spotlight, Jackie Brown, we talked about this. I think my very favorite Michael Keaton movie is Pacific Heights. And if you guys,
that's a great movie.
That's nuts, right?
Oh yeah,
I love it. Yeah,
it's a friggin' ride with Melody Griffith, and it's the greatest thing. So anyway, I just haven't.
Did you ever see The Founder?
The Founder's fantastic.
Fantastic.
I watched Pacific Heights with Matthew Modine at the Alamo Draft House here. And he was sitting on the stairs next to me, and I was like, so I got to ask you, which Batman was better to work with? He was like, what are you talking about? I was like, you were in two Batman. You worked with two Batmen. And he had like stories going on for days. He just kept talking during the movie. I'm like, I'm trying to watch Pacific Heights, Matthew Modine.
Sounds like Jeff's name dropping is going to Mick now.
Look at what Jeff's doing here with these shows. I need to start name dropping. This is, that's how this works.
It's pretty serious. So listen, Michael Keaton, I could go on forever about. Then they throw freaking Stanley Tucci, who Stanley Tucci might be my very favorite actor. Him and Michael Keaton, I guess. So for me, it's like the friggin' De Niro, Al Pacino scene from Heat. Having the two of these guys together in the same movie, and they do it so smartly because there's only a couple key scenes where these two main characters, these absolute just kings of drama, actually interact with each other. And when they do, it's so incredibly powerful. And just so you guys know what this movie's about, it is the aftermath of 9/11, where the country, the federal government, is very concerned about, frankly, the potential of an economic disaster from the lawsuits that would come out of the claims from 9/11. And so they set up the Federal Disaster Fund, which was going to create compensation for all the victims of 9/11, but they came into a big ethical, moral issue of how much is each person worth? And this is where the title came from, right? How much did you give? What's a human life worth? And how do you rate that? How do you measure it? How do you value it? And this is where Michael Keaton's character, which is a real life character, a lawyer, came in. This is what he does. He settles class action lawsuits by establishing value and worth to each person's life, historically on the basis of how much they made. And it's very difficult to create a dollar value for a life, especially when you talk about thousands of victims. And this is what the government asked of Michael Keaton's character, who is an asshole and a jerk and all the things that you would expect a hardcore lawyer who's good at this kind of proficiency of creating a measurement to someone's life value. And so they gave it to him because they knew he'd be very good at it. In comes Stanley Tucci's character. Stanley Tucci's character's wife was killed in the attacks, and sets up a website called Fix the Fund, which becomes basically an enemy to Michael Keaton's efforts, and there they are. The two main characters are basically at odds with each other through the storyline, and I won't wreck how it ends. You guys know how history has gone down with how they did settle the claims. They did end up settling, but how they arrived at measurement was a very fascinating exercise. And the Stanley Tucci. The thing I love about both Michael Keaton and Stanley Tucci, particularly in this particular movie, is they didn't overpower the content of the movie through their acting prowess. Like, they didn't attempt to outshine the very powerful content itself, the writing of this movie, just purely because they could. Rather, they stayed in their lanes. They were very careful about the way they interacted with each other and with the other cast members, and they just did such an impeccably wonderful job on what is a very dark subject and a very hard to listen to subject, and you come away still not sure that the government did right by all the people. I think they did the best they could, because after all, we're all humans, right? It's humans trying to figure out humans' value, right? And that we did the best we could, but I wouldn't say this is a pick-me-upper. It's not a feel-good movie, but it is a ride of emotions, and they spend a tremendous amount of time in the individuals sharing their stories about what people, how people were affected by 9/11 and what the worth for each of these families could or should be on the basis of this fund. So it is a very well done movie, and it's an hour and 18 minutes. It won the Sundance Film Festival Best Movie from a year ago, and then was brought to Netflix. It was released just this past month. So it's the first time you could see it, even though the movie's been produced for more than a year, and highly recommend.
Nice.
Would you say?
I'm convinced.
Yeah, me too.
Jerry wants to know if it was worth watching time-wise.
Depends on how you measure your time, Jerry. For you, very worth it.
It's back-to-back 9/11 movies.
It is. And you know, funny, Jeff. I didn't mean it to be that way. It was the way the algorithm came out, and I wasn't going to turn down Keaton and Tucci, so that's the way it happened.
Yeah.
Ron, I got something for you. If you like Keaton as much as you do, watch a movie called The Company. He plays.
Wait a second. What is that about? I may have seen it.
The CIA. It's like the unfolding of the CIA. It was a miniseries. And Chris O'Donnell was like the star, but Michael Keaton played like the head of the CIA for a while. And it's probably one of his best performances ever.
I've heard of this, and I know what you're talking about, Mick. Thank you for that. He did another HBO series, HBO movie called Hello from Baghdad, I think it was called. Did anybody see that? About the...
no, I've heard of it. I've not seen it.
I've never heard of it.
It was about the founding of CNN and about how CNN scooped everybody, all the networks, by having a microphone and being able to go live during the bombing of Baghdad. So it's a very interesting movie.
Can he just get on with Beetlejuice too?
Right? Am I the only Beetlejuice fan in the world? I freaking.
Well, he's coming back as Batman. We didn't even mention that.
Know. Can I? I'm good. This may be the most unpopular opinion ever expressed on Crossing the Streams. Michael Keaton is my least favorite Batman. He doesn't make any sense at all. He's 5'7". He just doesn't make, I never got him as Batman. I didn't like the Tim Burton things. Christian Bale kicks the shit out of that. I don't get it. I don't get the fascination with him. Somebody explain that to me.
He's amazing. There, done. I know I don't want to take over the show, but I did some thinking. I did some planning, and I want to pitch something to you, Jeff, live and in person.
Sure.
Your 50th episode. If you do an episode every week, November 24th, here's what I'm thinking for you. Do all cooking-based shows. Everyone has to cook a dish and show.
Oh, wow. Good idea.
Wow. He really put some thought into this, Jeff.
That is good. I accept that proposal.
Wow.
Mick,
I mean, you really thought this through.
I think it would. I don't know. It's a good show for it. It's a good panel. Everybody.
It is.
And it's a holiday. You guys are all friends.
I just don't know how to talk about mac and cheese for 15 minutes.
Very well done.
That is good. I did want to. I think Michael Keaton was probably the best Batman. Actually,
I never saw it. I don't know why. It's how it is.
Wait, you never saw it? You ripping at him?
No. I never saw the appeal. The first time I saw it, I mean, it was like, okay, it was kind of cool. 1989 or whatever it was. That movie didn't make sense to me. The Joker brings down the bat plane with a stupid gun. None of it made sense. And I know it's a Tim Burton movie. It was campy and weird. Batman didn't make sense to me until Christopher Nolan did his thing with Christian Bale. And Michael Keaton, I mean, he doesn't have the physical heft to intimidate or to beat anybody up. And I don't know.
Hey, Bob, I kind of agree with you. And let's go on record also saying that the Prince song is complete garbage.
All right.
It's horrible.
Complete garbage. Please. It sounds like a little kid wrote it. It's garbage.
It's terrible.
Garbage.
It's terrible.
I'm on your side, Bob. Hot garbage.
Okay. Thank you, Fred. Thank you.
Wow.
You guys hate people 5 foot and smaller, don't you?
Well, no, it's not that. I think I love him in everything else, but I just can't believe him as Batman. I don't believe that he's going to scare anybody.
Oh my God, what is going on right now? What is going on?
Someone agreeing? Fred is not credible.
Howard Rosner sending Howard Rosner and his dogs good wishes. Get well soon. Hopefully Howard will be back next week.
Feel better, man. And,
yes, they did, Howard, you bastard.
Yeah, Howard, you got to come
Ron
back.
is a jerk and Wolves lost today.
Anyway, I think Michael Keaton was also in the that Seven movie that they just did with Sacha Baron, where they on Chicago, the 7 people that were.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
He's like the surprise at the end. He's like the judge or something. Anyway, I enjoyed Michael Keaton and everything he does, especially Batman. Everything he did, that was it. I'm Batman.
Wait, what was that stupid movie in the 80s that he did with where he was the audio executive in the Japanese?
Oh my God, stupid Gung Ho. That was a Gung
Ho.
Such a fun.
I loved Mr. Mom. I loved all that stuff. I loved all that.
Night Shift with Dan Aykroyd.
All right, let's say goodnight.
Birdman.
Before Michael Keaton is searched any further. Fred, remind everyone about your podcast and say goodnight.
So it is the Head of Fred show. It starts October 4th. You can find it everywhere you listen to podcasts, and hopefully Jeff comes on every now and then and helps me rebuild my name.
Your empire.
Am I still doing the Manhattan Minute for that?
If you want to. Yeah.
All right. I'll do it.
So I wanted to tell you, Jeff, also that before I came on your show today, I reached out to Jennifer, who is my old co-host on Within the Head of Fred. And I said, reach out, I'm going to be on Jeff's show. And she said, wow, I didn't even know Jeff had a podcast. So she just wanted.
Does anybody?
What a dick punch.
That hurts. Mick.
Is she not friends with him on Facebook?
I think that was her point.
Oh, yeah. First of all, I thought Fred asked me to do a minute on his. Anyway,
no, you are. You're doing bad advice with Jeff Dwoskin. He's doing the movie minute with Mick Manhattan.
All right, Mick, talk about your podcast real quick.
I think you guys will like it. We try to be funny and just have a good time with it. Ron likes it. He's our #1 fan. I'm naming him that. So check it out. Go over to thescenesnobs.com. All our links are there. If you follow us and stuff like that, we have plenty of fun stuff going on.
Cool. Awesome. Good night, Lee. Thanks.
Good night, Lee.
Night,
Lee. Bob, say good night.
Okay, so check out the Sal and Bob show at Janitti's Hole in the Wall Theater monthly, October 7th, November 11th, and December 2nd. It's a new kind of comedy live show. And listen to the podcast. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Ron, say good night.
Supporter of all you guys, all you amazing podcasters.
And we appreciate it.
Love all you guys. So good night, everybody, and look forward to next week.
Cool. And I'm Jeff Dwoskin. Thank you very much for joining us for another week. Check out my podcast, live from Detroit, The Jeff Dwoskin Show. And that has been another episode of Crossing the Streams. Join us every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Facebook and YouTube. Follow The Jeff Dwoskin Show on YouTube to be alerted every time we go live with your hosts, Jeff Dwoskin, Ron Lippett, Howard Rosner, Bob Phillips, Sal D'Amelio. We're all in the socials. Follow us. Listen to our podcasts, live from Detroit, The Jeff Dwoskin Show, The Sal and Bob Show. Check them all out, and we'll see you next week and every week when we cross more streams right here. See you then.